All right, we're live. What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of 10 Horse Money YouTube channel on a nasty, rainy Monday night. And it's crazy. I had one of them days. I'm going to vent real quick because I didn't get off till like 7:15. Drove through I bet we got like an inch of rain in 30 minutes at least here. And we got some hail mixed in and drove to my new house. Literally jumped in the shower. My wife had made a bagel sandwich. And when I got to my house, it didn't kind of let up. As soon as I got out of the shower, I could hear it starting, and it started hailing. So made a mad dash out to my truck, drove through hail, more rain, got back here. JB just showed up, and Mike's in the queue. We're gonna bring him in just a little bit. So it's just been like a boom boom day. I mean,
it's like blue skies out there right now. I literally just pulled in, and there, you could see the sunset off in the distance, and it is clearing up. So
yeah, the wind was blowing like 60 miles an hour. I had to drive 40 to 51
up the interstate
all the way home. I mean, and it was still kind of like sketchy. And then, you know how when a semi truck goes by and all that water, you can't see nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you're just kind of like, luckily there was a car in front of me that had their flashers on, and I just kind of stayed behind that
just
car.
Kept them in sight.
Yeah. But it was sketchy, man. It was one of them storms, and I think it's sweeping across. I think New Madrid in that area. There's another cell coming like to the south.
It looked like it was all coming south. I was just at the gas station. I was talking to a gal up there, and she said the Ameren guy just came through, and he said they went from 0 outages to 4,000 folks out of power within like a matter of minutes. I lost power at my house, we lost power like an hour ago, and it was not windy, not raining, not anything. It was just we could see it off in the distance coming, and all of a sudden my TV went out. And I put my head down. I was like, what?
Yeah, it came in
and
fast.
The fan went off. And it's like, oh, here we go.
What's up, Jay? Congratulations, Jay. Got a win over the weekend,
and he looked like a pirate too.
He did. He had some. It's a new line of Bahio sunglasses, like the one eye. So you got your regular vision and you got your polarized. By the way, if you guys are out there, haven't heard of Bahio sunglasses, you see me wearing this hat. They're very quality sunglasses, kind of higher end sunglasses, but like the rose lens color and the violet. If I was going to have two, that would be the two that you need.
I think I would go rose. Like if
I'd go rose.
One, it would be rose.
Right, because it's low light and it's bright light conditions. And I mean,
I talked to those guys at the Classic. I sat down and talked to them for a good while, and they're based out of Florida, and when they're out there flats fishing, because I look from the jump, you look at the rose and it's like, man, this is I like a little bit darker lens.
Mm-hmm.
When they had a booth set up inside, it's like, man, I wish there was a way that I could see what this looks like outside, because it was a bright bluebird day. Like, matter of fact, we set it up and we have a booth outside too. Like, I know where I'm headed, so I walked up there, grabbed a pair of those roses, and again, those guys are from Florida. They fish the flats, super high skies, super bright days, white sands, and they wear those roses all day long. And I got to wear them out there for a couple minutes, and you could definitely tell a difference in how the quality.
Yeah, my daughters, when my daughter's stealing from me, they're like, it makes my vision better.
It does.
I mean, it does.
It really does.
Like, because it just the contrast and the brightness and all that. What's up, Keith? Good to see you on here. We'll bring Mike in here in just a minute. Carrie Simpson's here from Shelbyville area. Good to see you in here. Stephanie, as always. Doug and Tom, what's up, brother? And Darius, I saw Darius. He's been out on Kentucky Lake. I hope he's been catching them. I think it's getting stingy out there. I heard him talking about drop shot, so that typically means that the fish are getting a little bit tougher to catch. They get ton.
I bet there's
Frank,
a robo worm involved in that.
Oh yeah, that's something we all need to throw more of. Is a drop shot. Let's see. All right, we got a good show for you. If you were here last week, you'll know that we had Mike on, and Shane is unable to make it. We were going to have Shane back, and Shane and Mike were at ICAST for several days. So Mike is going to give us a recap of what was going on down there. He sent me a video of him. Just I think it was him, but then somebody was walking around ICAST, and that place is huge. I was like, holy cow! And that was just I think just one building, but it just kept on going and going and going. So we will be doing a giveaway as always. JB's going to write down a number.
Oh, you'll put me on the spot.
Sometime during the stream, we're going to make a reference to
that one. Does that one work?
Yeah, we'll make a reference to Sasquatch, and we're going to give away a $25 Baitworks gift card. And while everybody's on here, I'm really considering going to Tuesday nights. I haven't talked to JB about this yet, but Mondays are absolutely nuts. Like I very easily could have worked 12 or 13 hours today, but I finally told my boss after 11 hours, I got to get home to do this live stream. But I'm thinking Tuesday. I don't know if there's anybody else out there streaming. If they are, I apologize. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I've been battling this for a year or two, trying to get home. Monday's our busiest day. So I'm just thinking, I know Rich streams on Wednesday sometimes it's Thursday or Friday, but Wednesday's kind of been his day. So I don't want to do Wednesday just for his sake. Debo's on Saturday. So I don't want to step on any YouTubers' toes, but I think Tuesday is a day that, it's got to happen. It's just crazy. I barely got over here. And so anyway, let me know in the comment section, is Tuesday a night that works for you guys? Hopefully so, because that's kind of what I'm thinking, that we're going to switch to Tuesday night. So let's bring Mr. Russell in and see what all he saw down there in sunny Florida. Let's bring him in. What's up, brother?
How's it going, guys?
Oh, just chirping over here, trying to settle in and
riding out the storm.
You you got anything down your way yet? Rain?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It looks like it could, but it's not.
Well, you talked about that we needed this rain, and we truly do need this rain, but not the way we get it like that. We don't need an inch in 10 minutes. We need it
in a hurry.
We need an inch in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. So Mike says Tuesday's good. Darius is saying Tuesday's good. Stephanie's saying Tuesday. That's good. So I will definitely let you guys know social media wise when we make that switch. Doug's good for that. We'll probably do that next week because, like I said, it's getting chaotic. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Monday's a rough day for everybody.
Mondays is a tough day for everybody. It is. It's like I always thought of it as it's nice, it's your first day at work from the first day of the work week, and then you come home and you get to talk fishing or just listen to some folks talk about fishing, get to ask fishing questions. So it's kind of like a relief from the Monday, manic Monday blues, but it's also hard to get here. And I know you always had like baseball practice on Mondays.
We did for a while. We had baseball on Mondays, and
Yeah.
then I don't know what next season's going to bring yet. We had tryouts this past weekend. So.
Perry's good with Tuesday, so we're going to plan on Tuesday. I think that's going to be probably next week. I have to get ready. I got a couple guests lined up that I'll have to see if they're available to jump from Monday to Tuesday. So that's always cool. So talk a little bit about ICAST, man. That video, I was just talking about that video you sent me where I don't know who was walking around with the GoPro on, but that place is massive. Is that you?
Yeah.
God.
Well, everybody, I try to tell everybody how big it is and how much, and I can't even, you can't throw a rock 3-4 times and go from end to end of that place. And then it's easily 2-3 football fields wide. It is utterly, it's just massive. After one day, trust me, being a fat kid, your ankles are sore, your calves are throbbing. So
you need to get you like one of those little segways and ride that thing around.
Trust me, if I'd have had I got a cast in the house. If I'd had one of them little bikes that you put one leg up, I'd have been switching the cast from leg to leg, just scooting around.
I love it.
So
but yeah, it's fun to walk around. I will tell you that once you get about half to 3/4 of the way through it, everything starts running together. You can only see 5 jerk baits, and then about the 6th one, you're going, yeah, that's a jerk bait. Yep, there's something not special. There's some, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a matter of, if you're looking for anything brand specific, and or if they actually do their media ahead of time and kind of hype it up and get things going. There was some hype going around about, in different booths, uh, not only ours, but there was some, like the Rapala booth and things like that. There was, you know, Berkeley had their swim bait that they were hyping up. Their their pro staff does a pretty good job at helping hype that stuff up. Um, not like I said, not to mention, the stuff at ours, the stuff at other ones. There wasn't as much kayak stuff. There was a lot of kayak stuff, but there wasn't nearly as much as I thought, or that there has been in the past. It seemed to kind of, somewhat level out a little bit. Because there for a while, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all the kayak stuff. So, and I still think that I never made it down every aisle.
Huh.
Because there's been people, hey, did you see us down at ICAST? No. Where were you? And it's like you think you walk every aisle, but it's like, you're like a kid in a candy store. I had a gentleman come in the Strike King booth and talk to me, and he goes, dude, I'm a kid in a candy store. He goes, I'm trying to see everything. And, we sat there talking for a few minutes, and he's like, I don't know which way I'm going to go next. They're like, well, go to the end and just start, like eating that spaghetti, just feed it to you, just keep going. So, I I enjoy the shows. I enjoy it because I if I haven't already worked with them, made friends with. I see all a lot of the pros out there. Um, I got to see there was a few things that kind of sparked my interest. Um, that that we were coming out with a few things. And I'll be honest with you guys, there's things that Strike King will come out with that even though I'm in the know, I didn't even know. Um, I didn't know that we were coming. You have to forgive me, names blew by me, but we have, and I sent you a picture of it, Gabe. Um, we have, I hate to even call them rooster tails, but they're basically inline spinners.
Yeah.
They're, it's almost like a premium version of that. And I was sitting there talking to Greg Hackney, and he's like, "That's one of the things that he goes. I got them in my boat every time I'm in on the water." And if you
Yeah.
remember back in the day, Ike and Ellie used to talk about having his emergency box, and it was either a Roadrunner or a Rooster Tail. He always had them in it. So, um, and I hate to sound like this, but we're coming out. It's they had it at ICAST, a 3/8 ounce red eye shad, and it is right smack dab in the middle of the quarter. Of course it is. But the sizing of it, it was right there in the middle of the half ounce and the quarter ounce, and it's like when you see it, you're like, yeah, well, then all of a sudden you just keep looking, and you're like, dude, that's gonna be perfect. And I just kept, the more I kept looking at it, the more I was like, yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on them. The first run of the gravel dogs that you guys heard us talk about was they come out, and the pictures and that some of them that you see, I'm still tweaking some of the colors. The factory did really well on matching some of them. Some of them is just dialing it. We just got to dial it in. I didn't see a whole, and I'm sure that it's probably something I missed, but like the line manufacturers, I didn't see you know, no big blowouts on new line and stuff like that. I was trying to think of what, as I was walking through it, I'm like, what is the number one thing that, that 3 or 4 years ago when they came out with a Cinco, or everybody was making a Cinco stick bait. I hate to use names, but they were all making a stick bait, and it's like it seemed like all the manufacturers had, a stick bait that they were bringing out. I didn't really see, other than just crawdads, anything that was a general consensus across the industry. Soft plastic stuff was, that I guess that was the bigger mover, as far as the as being pushed. A lot more of the soft plastic industry. So it's you get to meet your pros. There's a lot of apparel companies that are there. A lot of rain gear, a lot of sunglasses. I took a glance. I didn't get too in depth on it, but I took a glance at the new Quest by Minn Kota because I was highly interested in that one, and that was one that I was really kind of intrigued that I wanted to see because I mean I've been a Minn Kota guy for a long time. As far as my trolling motors, I've had one. And, I mean I love the rest of them. The Lowrance, the Ghost. I the Garmin. I haven't had a chance, which I know a lot of my buddies that the pros, they like the new powerful, trolling motor. But I wanted to see that Quest, just see, it's got more of you can tell the head design is more updated, as opposed to being antiquated. Um, it, it's got more of a newer look to it. Um, one of, well, there was, I was surprised to see that on the water thing, to see that the water hammock won the best in its class when some of the things that was in the class with it, I was kind of shocked. Uh, the water hammock was a cool idea, but there was really nothing that stood out that was goofy. Um, Everybody pretty well, you can tell some of the things was closing out their line, rounding up their line, and so on and so forth. Um, I see, all the manufacturers have, and one of the things that kind of, I'm struggling with the right words to say, um, the it's going around right now that they're all talking about copying and knockoffs and things along those lines. You know, I there's ideas that some people are improving upon. There's some ideas that people are just wanting to have something like it. And this is no entity in particular, but you see certain things that are, they're kind of being, that people were working towards. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't really see just a crap ton of if imitation is a form of flattery, there was a handful of flattered people walking around. That's the way I'm going to put it. Uh, be it, you know, you could look at body shape, you could look at colors, you could look at, things like that. But all in all, at the end of the day, people are trying to round out their lines, and they're trying to make sure that they can present everything. They want to be able to. They want you to be a one-stop shop and go to their place to buy it. So you're starting to see these booths, and see you have mostly all new stuff in these booths. You don't have like their whole line when you walk through them. You're seeing the new stuff. This is what we're working on. In fact, I'm leaving next Tuesday, a week from today, to go to South Carolina for product and development. Me and Shane and the other guys, Todd Castledine and the other guys, we're going for our meeting for next year's stuff. It's already, for us, next year's already started. It's kind of like, you know how you can buy a new car halfway through the year.
Right.
That's kind of what we are. You know, we have to have things done in a certain amount of time and try to have it done and done right. Um, but I will tell you that uh, I can't drop all kinds of bombs as far as, you know, give away everything we're working on. I personally, I'm working on a bait, um, and I'm working on it. My point man's Kevin Van Dam. He's who I'm working with on it. I'm also working with Mark Menendez on with it, and it's a cold water crankbait. That's as far as I can go with it. You can think of past history cold water crankbait. Well, Mike's tackling the demon. I'm going after the dragon. Um, I'm working on a cold water crankbait, and I am doing I am doing my best to try to make sure that what comes to market is going to be, you know, it'll be second to none. You know, it could be even with others, but it'll be second to none. Um, but we're working on a handful of stuff that's going to be next year for Strike King is going to be huge. You're going to see a lot of products that they've been being worked on. They're going to be, you know, that we are working on. Um, I'm not going to say with the addition of me. I'm just happy for Shane that he had somebody to help, you know, ease the load off of him because there's a lot of things going on, you know, that's going to be coming up. As far as this year goes, uh, the you know everybody's got the newest, the latest, the greatest, you know, but there just wasn't a ton of the standout, you know, there was just the things that you looked at the best to show and things like that was more along the lines of basically manufacturers input into a category, be it a worm, a spinnerbait, you know, it was just their input to create a better wheel, you know, and we're going to hear so many things about how this was copied or that was copied or things along those lines. But you know, you can only create a you know so many of the new products.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of clothes, like you know, like you got this the
Deck
boots, and then you know here's some Costa sunglasses.
Coastal won best to show with and here's where you know I'm pardon my ignorance. It's only because I don't know every single product, but Coastal won a best to show with a pair of their sunglasses.
Yeah, I think last year Bahijo won sunglasses too. So the sunglasses market is pretty hot. I didn't really get a chance to look at those. I went down the list a couple days ago and I was just kind of browsing through it. But I noticed AFCO, of course. There was a hook, you know, shirt or something. Yeah, there's the Costas. Ice fishing live scope bundle. The boots. Funny story. Well, it's not really funny, but we were talking about the emergency box a while ago and the inline spinner. I fished with a guy on Kentucky Lake. It's been probably 5 or 6 years ago. The guy was from Texas. Can't remember his name, but really good stick. And he was fishing at that time. He was fishing a lot of the Toyotas, and he had just fished a Toyota where Jason Christie was fishing, and it was a spawning event, and they were going. Basically, it was one of those deals where you'd have 6 or 8 anglers in one pocket or one short cove, and they were just kind of going ring around the rosy. Well, this guy was going behind Jason Christie, and they were bed fishing, and he caught several fish behind Christie that Christie couldn't catch. And the reason why was because he was fishing a crappie jig on a bed. Really, really
Mhm.
small crappie jig, like a 1.5 inch, 2 inch crappie jig. And nobody else, the fish hadn't seen that, or for whatever reason, they were, it looked like a little small minnow or a little small bluegill shooting in there to get the eggs off the bed. And he caught several behind Christy. And he was just talking about, one, how it was cool to have a bait that they hadn't seen, and he felt confident that he could catch fish behind other anglers. Two, it was really cool that other angler that he was catching fish behind happened to be Jason Christie. And so you're talking about that little inline spinner. That's every once in a while I think about that, about breaking that out, because in the fall, in the fall, the fish get really, really keyed in on really small bait fish. And that inline spinner is perfect size for a little bait fish.
Well, do you remember and they probably still have it, Rapala used to make that little bitty rattle trap. I've always called them rattle traps or rattle baits, but it was that little bitty, like 8 ounce. I was on the Ohio River, and most people that know me and my fishing, I love fishing the river because that's what I grew up doing. Was beating the banks, walking down the bank, throwing, and you want to throw something that's kind of inexpensive, so to speak. And I was on the Ohio, and I got on a pattern by these stumps, but they would only hit this itty bitty trap. And that was on Saturday. My tournament was on Sunday. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got it dialed in. This is it. I'm catching 3-pounders. I got 15-pound sack. I didn't even, it was on stumps and 2 foot of water. And it's like, these fish are in there. And the next day I went and fished a tournament, made the run, had to drive through this, oh my God, the jungle to get to it. By the time I got to it, the water had dropped 3 foot overnight.
Sounds like you were at Galconda.
Yeah, I was. I was fishing Barron Creek at Galconda. And
Okay,
by the time I got to the back by the bridge back there, I knew the minute I hit, I knew the minute that I hit the mouth of Barron that I'm in trouble. And then I didn't really know how deep those stumps were in because I didn't want to go up by them. But I went in the back of Barron, and right where it goes and it dead ends and it tees off, right there on that right corner, I had them, and I went, and every stump was sitting on dirt, no water around it. Couldn't catch a fish out in front of it. I was done. I was just like, I was done. I give up on it. I made the best out of it, but still.
We had the same pattern. Well, we were in Lusk one evening, same deal, kind of a tournament on Sunday, and we were fishing on Saturday evening, pre-fishing, and we kind of quit there at Lusk and came around the corner, and there's a row of stumps there sitting in like 12, 14 foot of water, and every time you'd roll a square bill or a spinnerbait by them, you'd get bit. And in about 5 to 10 minutes between the two of us, we had like 18 and a half pounds.
Did you really?
On the Ohio River.
That's pretty solid.
Do you know that Bass World Sports, for the longest time, their largest sack ever weighed in a tournament was 28 pounds when it came out of Lusk Creek?
I believe it.
Yeah. That's a good little stretch of river right there.
Well, we're talking, that's going up against some of the, Lake of the Ozarks, a lot of the rivers, Mark Twain, Truman. I mean, you would think that there would have been bigger sack, but it was one guy, and he caught all the fish off of one tree, the one and two. He just sat there all day and caught 28 pounds. I mean, I've seen 7 and 8 pounders.
We didn't have that much. I thought 18 was pretty impressive on the.
Oh, 18's impressive any day of the week, especially right now. You
same
about every
deal.
tournament you're in up there.
Same deal that they were gone the next morning. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they were pushed up there so hard. I threw that square bill up there, got it stuck, and we were on the way to get it, and I go, wait, nope, one's got it, and I pulled off a 4-pounder off of it. She ate it off the side of the stump. You're living right when they're
that's how you catch them up there. That's how you literally throw your line over the stump, let it fall, and it'll fall right down, and drag it. It'll nose up as you're pulling it up the stump.
Yep. I know
And
a
a lot
guy
of
that
people,
won a club tournament doing
Really?
that. Yep. With the black jig, caught a couple 5
a
pounders
lot
doing
of
the same.
people, a lot of people forget that at the bottom of some of these trees are some massive root wads. They just forget it. All they see is a stump. They don't think about at the bottom of it is a root wad. And if you get the right root wad that's got openings in it where they can get up in there,
Just dangle it in
I'll
the
give
trees.
everybody a money making tip for the Ohio River. Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down, hit every stump twice, and you'll see. And the other thing is don't be upset that you don't have a fish in the box at noon, because them fish literally have feeding times, and they will turn on, and you can not have a fish in the box at noon, and by 12:15 have 5 and be culling.
Yeah.
It is the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah. Somebody asked a while ago if ICAST is open to the public or it's invite only. It's not open to the public.
What ICAST is, guys, is it is I can't remember what the letters all stand for, but ICAST is for the companies that you buy from. And when I say buy from, I'm talking like the retailers that you buy from. They get a chance to go see all the new products that are coming out. Most of the time, you'll hear a lot of people like we'll tell people that, hey, this will be available in September. That's when they'll start shipping these things out. Usually about September is when they start releasing a lot of the new stuff. But what it is that your local tackle store, if a lot of them go to, like there were guys from Academy there, the buyers for Academy, the buyers for Tackle Warehouse. They're going in and they're trying to make deals with the manufacturers, and they're doing a lot of pre-sales. They're setting up and they're buying a lot before, that way they can get better prices. Hey, I'm going to buy it even though it's not coming, but I want to go ahead and buy, $20,000 worth of this. And then they'll buy it ahead of time, and that's how they keep their prices down. Most of the retailers that go there, they work out their deals, and that's how they can keep their pricing down to where you see some tackle stores the price is way high, some that's way low. And then a lot of times with the way high guys, you can go, hey, did you go to ICAST? And be like, no, I didn't go. It's because they don't take the time to go do these things. But what it is it's for people to buy them in quantity. You can't buy anything at the show. Like me and you, like if we were there. Not open to the general public. There's thousands of people there, but they're all like media. And, I've been asked a couple of times, there wasn't a whole lot of like what we're doing right now. There's not as many videos out. And I said, guys, you have to understand, these guys are all now taking their game up a notch. So they're editing all their videos. So they cut out some of the crap, but there was media guys there everywhere. If you're a media guy, you can get a badge and you can go in and, you do your interviews with the people. Shaw Grigsby was there. If you follow him, say on Instagram, Shaw took, and he was sitting there doing going through the strike team stuff, and I was standing right there. If you look at Mark Menendez, the things that he puts out from ICAST, the different baits and things like that, the pictures, the lovely hand model is right here. Right here. I'm the hand model for Menendez. They're going through taking pictures of all the stuff. You'll see, a lot of them guys are kind of doing their self. They're doing it for themselves, and some of them rely like on the factory pictures and stuff. So,
Gotcha.
and Strike King's taking their game up, like with terminal tackle. They're slowly, we're slowly starting to work in. They added like barrel swivels. Um, they added uh, split rings, things like that. Because if you do notice, you kind of notice that they weren't necessarily having all that stuff. And what a lot of places do, they look and they go, well, we're a tackle company, we should have this, that, and the other. And they start looking at their stuff, going, well, we need it, so they start adding it. But like I said last time, you can't necessarily. You got to have shelf space. You got to have, there's stuff that's developed and things like that that you just got to have space on the shelf. So to recoup, no, it's not open to the public. It is, but it is open to, like your local tackle stores have an invite to come down to it. And as a retailer, they can walk through and they can see all the new stuff and they can come back. And a lot of the really good tackle stores, they do it because they want to be informed. They don't want to wait until, after the show or whatever to get their information from a rep. They'll go down there just so they can see it firsthand.
Let's so check this out. I don't know if you can see this, but Ron has a question. He said, did Mike feel the angler tensions Luke Duncan reported on today? So we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and Ron's talking about at Cayuga, the BPT, there was a lot of bedfish caught multiple times. You're only supposed to catch a bedfish once a day. Basically, a fish that you're looking at once a day. And then there was
we talked about it last week.
Right. There's some anglers that caught fish outside of the mouth but didn't show it to, the boat official and stuff. So on Duncan today, he was talking about some of there was some tension in the air, and I don't know if that's something that he was just looking for and he felt it. Did you feel any of that kind of stuff going on? Like people maybe trying to avoid people or just a little chatter in the background?
I see that every day in my life in this industry.
Yeah.
You look at people like, they're your competitor. Some people are where you want to be. Some people are where you don't want to be. And it's like anything. It could be, like you, having a YouTube show. There are some people that will. How many times have you been involved? And this will answer your question to you, so you'll kind of feel it about somebody copying your content. It's like, but they're not going to do it on Sunday night and then you do it Monday. No, they're going to do it Wednesday, and they're going to take your content and go so far. You have. I didn't feel as much of the old school, new school guys. I didn't feel that like I normally do, only because I am with, a company that is trying to I don't rebuild is the wrong word, but they're trying to get back to, they're trying to build upon having the younger guys working with the older guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen this past,
fortify, maybe refortify or
reinvigorate the younger generation to come.
Well, there was a lot of older guys that were being left out. And I'm not saying just with Strike King, this is across the industry. A lot of the older guys are being left out. Some of the guys, I think that they think, well, I've made my money, I'm good. And you can tell guys that are money driven. You can tell guys that are, just have a love for it. I see Van Dam, okay? Kevin is still out there hitting a lick. Kevin's still out there. He's still doing videos. He's still doing this. Kevin doesn't have to do it for the money. Kevin has, he's solidified his future. But he's still doing it because of the love of the game, the love of the competition, he has a level that he likes to, you know, that he likes to be involved with. He loves the aspect of designing new stuff. He loves the aspect of, and I'm telling you, Gabe, I'm trying to get Kevin on your show, and I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But it's the guys that have the love of the game. These guys that come on here and yeah, you're going to see a couple pop up. I'm going to giggle about because I just noticed some of the comments.
I think we're probably looking at the same one.
Yeah, but anyway, so as far as the tensions go between the anglers, no, I didn't feel it as much, and I'm pretty sure, and you got to remember, we have tension between companies.
Yeah, right.
There is a rumor every year. There's a big rumor come out, and then it shoots throughout the whole building. That's all everybody's talking about, and come to find out, the rumor is not. It's like somebody heard somebody say something while they were sleeping.
Yeah, rumors travel fast. We had a guy.
You have never seen it travel like it does. As big as ICAST is, it could be, Gabe farted at one end of it, and everybody at the other end of the building knows about it.
Yeah, the saltwater guy knows what's going on in the crappie world, and that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, one of my buddies is Wally Marshall. He said crappie guys. Strike King did come out with a bunch of new crappie stuff, and they're actually building on the guys that crank, because I don't know if you guys had seen the big crappie expo that they have in Arkansas. It's huge, and that Wally put all that together. Wally's a really good guy. I love talking to him. He's old school, but no, there is tension between anglers, and a lot of it used to be the young guys, new guys. But I think a lot of the older guys that are still kind of in the hunt, everybody, they're all looking for a crease. They're all looking for something to give them. You had the poche, four-wheeling his boat. You had, catching the same fish. If you think about it, we're actually hearing, more and more things they're looking for those gray areas. I'll guarantee you there's another gray area that's being used right now. I don't know of it personally, but there's another gray area. It'll come out again. We're hearing more and more about these gray areas being exposed. And It's not just you miss the days if you watch the old. There's a gentleman on YouTube that I've watched a gazillion of his videos, Lynn Dollar. And I don't know the guy personally or anything, but you watch the old Bassmasters, and you see the guy sitting on the plane. It's in the air, and they're like, okay, we're going to, Toledo Bend, and the boats are there waiting for them. You're going to get to the point, because think about the MLF. They didn't know where they were going. When they got there, they could have no information, and this, that, and the other. Well, now they're getting back to the other way of doing it, to where they know where they're going and things like that. So there's a lot of creases being looked for that these guys are trying to find, some gray area, and they want to live in that gray area, and they're not against the rules, but they're not for the rules. So, and there is tension for the older mindset guys. There is young guys, and I'll mention a guy by Josh Bertrand. Josh is a stand-up guy. I like the guy a lot. Josh is one of them hard-working guys that, you only hear about his successes, but that guy, to me, he's, nice, straight guy,
Well, what about Paul and Nick? You had Paul and Nick jumped on here last week.
Brandon,
that's another guy. He's been in multiple situations where he's caught, a 6-pound bass outside of the mouth and he releases it. Or he's had
Oh,
6 fish in the live well, you know, choline violation. He made a
DQ'd
cat. He
himself.
made a DQ. That's the kind of integrity.
okay. Don't you respect him for that though?
Oh,
You
100%.
sit there,
Yes.
but you're sitting there as fishermen. The competitive side of us is going, I don't know, it's like, man, okay, I got a bait. Well, I got this hook was in his mouth, but it's hooked right here, and it's like you can see right where it was hooked, but now the bait's dangling like that, and the mouth's up here. You're
Right.
kind of like, oh, and you question yourself, but once you go, you know what, the rules are the rules, and they follow and they police themselves. That is, like for Brandon, I got much respect for the guy. I believe that I believe that he is, there's guys like him that, Brandon's still a younger guy,
Right.
but he will call himself. But don't you think that it's because of guys like Menendez that called himself, who was slated to win on whenever they had the Elite 50 out of Paducah, and he called himself for not wearing a life jacket?
Yep.
It's because he's seen guys like that. So Brandon is setting a good example for other guys. And it's like, look, guys, you got a multiple time angler of the year. You got a guy that is going to call himself. So why don't we do it? Let's all, have a showing for it.
Yeah, Swindle was on Mercer, and he talked about a lot of the old school guys. Was it Dewey Kendrick? He was the old tournament director. Was that him for bass?
I can't remember.
Who was?
But he was talking about the
Cliff
guy.
Weldon being that forever.
I think before Tripp it was Dewey Kendrick.
Or was Dewey in another league that?
No, I think it was either FLW or Bass. I can't remember which. Somebody will chime in here in a little bit on that. But if you didn't have your life jacket on as you were loading your boat after you weighed your fish, you weren't going home with a check that day.
Yeah,
He would
exactly.
DQ you right there. I think we've as an industry we've let a lot of that slide. Right? There's a lot of the gray that we talk about here, and if they were more black and white, then that changes the whole deal.
Well, you got to talk about them. That's one of the problems that's going on with back to the BPT thing is you had a lot of these guys are violating the rules. Some of them had taken polygraph tests, and they will not tell the results of the polygraph test to the other anglers. Now, I mean, if you're fishing in a tournament in a league, you're paying big bucks. You're in one of the 3 big ones. Wouldn't you want to know the results? I think the results should be public, at least to the anglers. May not, I'm not against it being public, like public, but at least your other.
Yeah, but if they don't like that guy and they find out it's being leaked.
Yeah, well,
I mean, do you remember Van Dam? You remember Van Dam being disqualified for somebody running his boat, and he was standing up on one of the motors sight fishing, and he got called for it. But that was a kind of a gray area. But they made a call on it. It's not that a lot of these guys are doing it on purpose. Do you believe that the Gerald Swindle, do you remember whenever, I forget who it was, that Gerald drove by on pad, but they had waved him on, and he got DQ'd, and he broke down. I think he was so mad he was coming to tears. Again, that was kind of like a gray area. We're seeing a lot of these gray areas, though, getting stacked back to back to back to back, and that's what's spooky.
Well, there's GoPros everywhere. GoPros, action cameras, whatever you want to call them, they're everywhere right now. Back in the early days of bass, you had a camera. Maybe you had who was tournament director back in the day?
I don't know.
The founder of bass. My gosh, Tassels.
Oh, Ray Scott.
Ray Scott, thank you.
You're right.
Ray Scott hanging out of a helicopter running down the lake. I mean, that was our first action cameras that we saw, and that was cool shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now everybody's got a camera on them. Everybody has one of these right here, which is an SD card, that has everything
yeah.
that you did on the day on it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And somebody
That's
can.
Well, let me ask you. But all of these things that are popping up,
Here-
let's look at the age group in which they're in.
This
You
right
don't
here.
hear Mark.
This
You
right
don't
here.
hear Mark Davis.
This is very interesting. I didn't know about this. So back to Luke Duncan today. He had what was the guy's name? Slick Johnson.
Slick Johnson.
Yeah, Slick Johnson, Alabama Bass
Council. Alabama Bass
Okay,
Council.
YouTube channel. I haven't checked it out, but anyway, this guy's kind of like Luke. You know, he kind of calls things out and talks about controversial topics. But he was talking about Spencer Sheffield actually being fined for I think it was $45,000 plus he lost his paycheck from that tournament. So I think it was like $6,000.
Like a $6,000 check, and if he doesn't repay those restitutions,
he cannot fish the next tournament.
Yep.
Well, he's fighting it. He's got lawyers. Spencer's got lawyers involved, and if that same violation has happened amongst other anglers and the penalty has been different from what they imposed to Spencer, he's got a pretty good lawsuit there. I mean, and it seems like he's pissed off enough about it to actually take it to wherever it needs to go. And I think that's a good thing. I think when you get some shady stuff going on, people are trying to take money away from one person, but they're not even talking about the other person that did the same thing because there's
a sponsor involved.
There's
usually.
Good Old Boy Club and that kind of stuff. People need to, what Spencer's doing. Yeah, he violated a rule, but I think his point is, and I don't know this for sure. This is just what I heard today, but I think his point is that, yeah, he violated the rule, but that doesn't mean that he should be fined and nobody else should be fined. And I think it's going to be interesting how this all turns out. I mean, this could be one of the turning points because you don't see that as much in on the elite side of things. There's some stuff that goes on over there too, but it seems like, like Trip Weldon, when he was the weighmaster, he didn't take any crap. I mean, it was cut and dry. It was cut and dry. You knew what was going to happen. There wasn't this kind of wiggling your way out, making a few phone calls, and just kind of everything gets brushed under the rug. And I understand there's sponsors, there's money that's involved in these tournament situations. If you've got a Berkeley pro that violated this rule and you impose a big fine, that looks bad on the Berkeley pro, and maybe Berkeley is giving or whoever is giving that league, $1 million or something. So,
Absolutely.
So you got to watch how you do that, but at the same time, there's integrity.
You said Berkeley one too many times.
Yeah.
And Mike was like, I'm out. I can't talk about Berkeley anymore.
Sorry, I won't say Berkeley anymore, but yeah, there's got to be integrity. You got to keep things level, or it just becomes, and it seems like they're on a shady path right now over the last 6 months.
You're talking about MLF?
Yes, about MLF. There's been several things that have happened.
Well, I don't remember. It was JT Kinney that said it. I don't remember what podcast. It may have been Luke Duncan's that he said that the industry covers up what they should be covered.
Right.
And I think that's, you could probably write a novel, a multi-part novel on all the stuff that we don't know. Right.
Oh yeah.
Stephanie said, if they fail a poly, it should be either elite, MLF. It doesn't matter. It should be public.
Yeah,
everybody should know this guy, and I guarantee you.
But when you get somebody that's got a $45,000 fine, what makes that any safer than what happened? And I understand when Iaconelli had the big blow up and was tearing down his light post that had the flag on it. I understand I'm an American. I will fight to the death for it. But what makes it any worse? There is no big sin, little sin. You break the rules, you're done.
Right.
An eye for an eye. I would expect it. They should expect it, but they fight it, and then they come out the other end of it. Even if they lose, they come out the other end of it looking better.
Well, and the whole
industry
will be better too, right? Because if you, and I'm not saying make an example, but if you take everyone as we put our riches on the same way, one leg at a time every morning, and if Mike makes a mistake and Gabe makes a mistake and JB makes a mistake and we're all punished for that mistake and it's public, how many more of those mistakes will happen? I guarantee you that number gets closer to zero every single day, that somebody gets called out, somebody gets fined, DQ'd. You know, any of those DQ, fine, not fishing the next tournament, all take money out of their pockets, whether it's sponsor dollars, whether it's social media dollars, whether it's a paycheck from winning that tournament.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you guys notice whenever the Poche thing happened, did you guys ever listen to him talking about when Octafo did it? You know, there was this comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I asked one of the BASS guys what their opinion on it was, and I said something about, you know, the Octafo thing, and they said I asked before the tournament if it was legal. These guys are doing it. They're some, and I'm not saying Poche. I'm just saying that's one of the things that caused such a backlash with him is he didn't ask beforehand. And from what I understand, okay, and I don't want to spread bad gossip or nothing like that, but if these guys would question what they're going to do to the tournament director and ask, I'm going to do this. Can I do this legally? I can tell you I know of at least 2 or 3 that make that phone call, that ask, can I do this? When they first come out talking about a harness rig, I know for a fact there was a type of setup, you know, a type of bait setup that they called and said, can I do this? Is this legal? Do you consider that? They make those calls ahead of time, and then if they do it, they're like, hey, and you know the old saying that sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Not in this
That's
case.
that is what they're doing.
Yes.
Ask for permission, guys. And you know what? If you think that this is something that you should have asked for permission, then automatically I can't do it until I know for sure.
I think with Poche, he knew what he was doing, and he didn't ask that question because he knew he would be told, no, you can't do that. So his reasoning behind that was,
let's play in the gray.
Let's play in the gray, but you can't leave tournament waters, right? So he was trying to rationale that when you're in a lock, you can't fish in a lock. Like if you're locking down, you've left tournament waters. The lake on one side of the lock is tournament waters. The lake on the other side is tournament waters. But when you're in the lock, you're officially in non-fishable water. So he was trying to make that.
But guess what? In the rules, it says you can lock.
Exactly.
It says you can do that.
Right. But does it say you cannot jump a levee? You know what I'm saying? That's the gray we're talking about.
I don't know, but to Mike's point, ask. If you're looking for the gray, by God, you better ask.
I think that it takes away from the fact that the guys don't. I think that they respect, like Trip Weldon. I've yet to meet anybody that just didn't say this guy is either black or white. He has no gray area. If it says this, it says this. That they have like attorney-client privilege, you know, that they ask a question. I think they're afraid, like you guys said, of hearing that no, they can't do it.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, the gray area is gone, guys. You either ask or you don't, because if you do something that's in a gray area, you know, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, you've got the thing that happened earlier in was it an open? It was I can't remember what lake it was, but it was where there was it was a younger college angler who had the lawyer that was hole sitting for him, basically.
Better call Joe. Joe?
Yeah, Joe the lawyer. What was the kid's name? I can't remember his name. Really good fisherman. In
He's
fact, he's
the one that won the Bass Pro Shops $1 million tournament. Yes. Him and his partner won.
He's a stick. But there's that controversy. That's another great.
They can while they're on the water, they can call the tournament director to get, you know, clarification of the rules.
Right.
And nowadays they got cameras. They can go, hey, look, this is what I'm looking at. Can I do this?
Right.
And they'll either go yes or no. You don't ever hear. When's the last time you heard the BASS tournament director tell you that such and such called me to ask me if he could do this. I guarantee it happens every tournament.
Yep.
I'll guarantee it. But you don't hear it. You know why? Because that's business as usual. You did what you were supposed to do.
Well, that happens up and down the organizations, right? That's not just Bass MLF. That's Toyotas, that's Opens, that's BFLs. That's even your local team trail that's ran decent. You call a tournament director and say, hey, what's the rule on this? We got these fancy little things. I can text him and go, hey, what's the rule on this?
Let me ask you a question. What if, and this is the hypothetical, I'm good for these things, you guys know. You can't carry a can of gas with you in your boat, however much gas it's got, that it has to be a certified gas tank. So what about these guys that have a chainsaw in the boat? And they know there's an area and they kind of get out and they'll cut it, they'll lean over their boat with a chainsaw and cut their way into a creek. Well, what if they, had an extra gallon of gas in that chainsaw and they needed an extra gallon of gas in their boat? Can
you cut your way into
it's a gas tank while they're transporting gas? There's that's a gray area. I'm going to give you guys a prime for instance, so we don't beat this to death. But I was fishing Lake X with Shane and with Mark Menendez. And Mark he caught a fish. And it was he had hooked one hook inside the mouth and one outside of the mouth. And I said, would that be a legal fish? And he goes, yeah. He goes, because, I wasn't sight fishing it. I said, is your unit we talked about it a little last week. Is your unit, you're looking at the fish. Can that be considered? You can consider it looking, and here's what happened. Mark goes, you know what, Mike? That's a dang good question. He goes, I'm going to call and ask. You see, he's going to check just in case this gray area ever comes up. He's already asked the question. All they got to do is ask for permission, and they'll be fine.
You start seeing that trolling motor head swing real fast to the left or the right, we know the answer to that rule then.
Yeah.
I saw him streaking that trolling motor head.
Hey, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, guys are going to get good enough, and the technology is going to get good enough that I believe that is going to be something that's going to happen in the future. I believe that as they can narrow it down and guys can spend time with it, because I remember guys on 2D sonar, I'm watching my bait go down. There he is. I got it. And, I believe it's going to become an issue at some point. And now, is it going to, it's here to stay. I, fully believe that. I believe I think it's great technology and everything, but I think that you're going to have more gray areas pop up in the future with that. Unless they start getting some think tanks together of guys saying, all right, what gray areas do we have?
So I want the opinion of the people that are on here watching right now. Some of you have forward-facing sonar, some of you don't. If you're looking at a fish on forward-facing sonar and you cast to it, and Mike and I have had this discussion, and you hook it on the outside of the mouth, did you foul hook that fish because you were actually looking at that fish? Is it the same as looking at a bass on the bed in 5 foot of water that you're visually looking at? Is live scope the same? What are your thoughts on that? Because that's kind of what we're talking about.
This is about. I don't know if it was Milliken or Josh Jones, but they did something on that.
Did they?
And those are two of the best in the world at live scope.
Right. I personally don't think it's the same. You're not. It's totally different. You can't tell exactly where the fish's nose is or mouth, or
well, what if you've seen it and so have I, flip a bait out and all of a sudden you see, its nose is, he's not going down butt first and he's going down on it. Are you looking at the fish at that point? because you know he's going to be in the very close vicinity of it, and you know he's nose down.
Gosh, I don't.
Brad doesn't think it's the same because you can't see it go in the mouth.
I'm with you and Gabe and Brad. I'm with you guys because when you hear Josh Jones or Ben Milliken say that, you know, they were defending a guy. Like I said, I can't remember which one it was, but they were defending a guy because he got called out on social for snagging fish, and they both, one or the other, said that is not possible. I cannot go and snag a fish with a single hook. Now, jerkbait, multi-hook, treble hook, maybe different story, but this was like a jig. Like, there's no way that they could snag that fish accurately enough every single time. And these are some of the best in the world that are doing
I think you can snag one with a spoon, maybe. I mean, if there's a school,
I think if there's a school though,
15 and you rip that thing up.
But how many times did you do that anyway, even without forward facing?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I did it a couple weeks ago, you know.
Not even trying.
No, not even trying. I wasn't even looking at them. I knew there was fish in that area and I caught one in the back.
Yeah.
You know.
But
so,
you could do that without.
But I wasn't looking at it then. You know.
But you could do that without.
What if I was looking at it on forward facing sonar and I did it?
Man,
that's a difference. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm sure that's, like Mike said, eventually the technology is going to get that good and people are going to be that tuned because what they're working on the next generation of the forward facing sonar right now. And what's it going to be like? At some point, it's going to be hybridized with like the camera, you know, the actual, what's the action camera that a lot of the northern guys use? They drop over the side of the boat.
Oh, the AquaView?
Yeah, the AquaView. There's going to be, as the technology gets better and better, it's going to be even more realistic and more realistic. The definition is going to be better. There'll be a time where you can tell exactly the exact spot of the snout of the fish, and you'll be able to, I mean, you can already almost kind of do it. You can tell which way the fish is facing a lot of times, but there'll be a point where it's going to get really, really, really realistic.
It's only going to get better, right?
Right.
It's not going to, they're not going to come out with the new technology and go, oh, we're going to make this a lot fuzzier and worse. Because
they got to justify the price if they're going to.
Well, who's buying it? Sponsors, right?
Right.
Who sponsors the Elite Series? Who sponsors MLF? Who sponsors all of the trails? Go down the line. There's always there's somebody out there it's all driven by the almighty dollar.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what price they come up with, we're still going to buy them. We talk about prices of boats all the time, talk about motor prices. The only way that it will drive those motors down is if we as consumers stop buying them. And that's not going to happen. Bait companies are still going to produce. Boat companies are still going to produce. Rod, reel companies, sunglass, any widget that you can think of is still going to produce as long as we're willing to spend the money on it.
So yeah, 100%. Jay thinks a snag fish is a snag fish. Many times he's had a reaction strike with a fish, hit the bait with the mouth closed. Yeah, that happens. I mean, you see that a lot with the jerkbait. A lot of times they'll slash at it.
I think I've had more snag since I've had forward facing. I've had more snags prior to just random thrown in schools and stuff like that versus now having it. I haven't snagged a ton of fish.
Yeah,
with forward facing.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people are saying a snag fish is a snag fish, a hook in the mouth is a hook in the mouth. It's going to be a question. AquaView should never be allowed. Man, that's an interesting technology. I remember when I very first got my Gen 2 Lowrance. It was the touch. It was the first one that had the touch.
That was your first side scan unit too, right?
It was my first side scan unit, 12-inch Gen 2 touch, and it had an extra port for the AquaView camera. That was a new feature for that graph. And there was a lot of times I thought, well, maybe I'll buy one of those because I think they were like $500, and I thought it'd be cool to drop it down. But Drew, you're right. It's totally different. The thing that's different with it is it doesn't shoot out far. You have to have very clear water.
You got to be right here. Like if your brush pile's here, your camera's got to be.
It's only going to shoot out
Here,
a
right?
limited distance.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could drop on the fish right below the boat and actually use it to catch fish. I think it's good for scouting. A lot of people will side scan an area, maybe even forward facing sonar an area, and they'll drop that camera down to see, is it walleye, is it largemouth, how big are the largemouth, what bait fish are down there, what crawfish.
You know how I feel like the AquaView would be beneficial is someone that you just talked about when you first got your side scan. What are you looking at? What is that representation? Why does this show up white? Why does this have little ridges on it? It was at a boatway.
Or those bluegill beds, those little
craters out there. What are those?
27 feet of water.
Yeah,
take
your AquaView, take your underwater camera and view it.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, is a certified diver and can go look at that stuff. So
right.
I think time and place, right? I don't think for tournament fishing, I don't think it should be allowed.
Right.
But time and place to help you learn what you're looking at. Now you shrunk the curve.
Right. But is there going to be a forward-facing AquaView that's going to be able to look out there 80 feet and you're going to actually see the color of your bait dropping to whatever color fish?
Of water clarity. I mean, I don't think that'll ever happen. I mean, the best vision in the world can't see that. Fish can't see that far.
Yeah.
But I think your technology, your sonar technology, I'm sure it's already developed and it's already there. They're working 3 steps ahead of what they're going to release. But used in the right application, it's just going to keep, like we said earlier, it's just going to keep getting better. As long as we're willing as anglers and fishermen to pay for it, they're going to continue to produce it, and it's going to get more expensive.
Yeah, that $1,600 price point seems to be a price point that there's enough people that are willing to spend that for the next generation.
Well, look at boats. I mean, there's 6-figure boats out there.
I know. Well, this trolling motor that
$5,000
Mike was talking about, that's like
pole.
that's like a $4,000 or $5,000 trolling motor. I mean, Ultrex is $2,300, which is a ton of money already. And then you got the Ghost and the.
I think the new Quest is like 34, 35.
Right. It's just everything's just kind of inching up. It's just inching up, and that's technology. It's just the way it goes. So, that was a good little rabbit hole there. I think that kind of stuff needs to be talked about because it is.
Jay makes a good point. Every A-rig fish should be or would possibly be illegal because half the time that they're snagged and
you hog tie them. That's the one thing I hate about an A-rig is usually that fish has got 3 hooks in him, but by the time he gets in the boat,
unless you use the Minnesota
and
rig,
he's just stiff. He can't even move.
Doesn't the Minnesota rig just have 1?
I think so. Yeah, that's a funny. Is it 1 or 2? I think it's 1. I think you're right. It's 1.
1 and dummies.
Well, Illinois is 2. You know, they fish 2 over there.
Illinois is 2, depending on the lake you're on. Kentucky's 3, or is that Tennessee?
Kentucky's 3. I think. Isn't Kentucky 3?
5.
5. Okay.
It's Tennessee.
Tennessee's
3.
Okay.
Tennessee's
3. You can have 3 and 2 teasers.
Yep. And what was it? I remember the Daniel Fennell speech. It was
5 wires,
5 wires,
blades,
5 blades, 3 hooks,
5 baits,
5 baits, and 3 hooks. That's right.
Yeah.
You got some.
The one thing. Yeah, that storm popped over, and I'm on.
Hey, we got June in here. I'm gonna give a shout out to June real quick.
Fellow
What's up,
bait
buddy?
maker right there.
Yeah. Dream Express Lures. Everybody's talking about all these JDM baits. Go check out Dream Express Lures. June's like nonstop. Go to Dream Express Lures on Facebook or Instagram and look at all the stuff that June's doing. He's over in Japan and he is making some really cool stuff. Some really, really unique products.
And
he's like nonstop.
What's neat about June is like he'll show you something and then tomorrow he's got it in his hand and it's painted and it's live. Like because he's operating in such a small space that like Mike with Bag 5. I mean you got all the not all the time in the world, but it's you and your thoughts and you can create this and it's yours and here it is and show it to the world, not waiting for production and samples and all that. He's doing everything in house and showing you the whole process. So
I alluded to it earlier, but I don't think that with ICAST already having been passed, I saw Stephanie ask a question a while ago. There's certain baits that need to be. I'm working on a flat side right now, and I got some videos that I'll send you, and maybe at some point you show, because you can't see the bait, so I won't be getting in trouble for letting anything go. But I'm working on a flat side right now, because the simple fact that a lot of people had thought that the chick magnet was going to be. It came out at the height of the foot side 2 years ago, and everybody thought it was going to be the the deal. And it's basically, the chick magnet is a flat sided. It has the action of a 1.5. It's got a wider wobble, and everybody was wanting the tight wiggle of what they thought a flat side should be. Um, and so I'm working hand in hand with some of the guys that you know that they decided, you know I had been bringing up that we needed a flat side, and so that was like the first project that Shane handed off to me, like I'm a running back, and here go. um, I can tell you I've already got the body shape done. Everybody at ICAST, all the Strike King guys that I showed it to, from the brand manager down, they all love the body shape. But I want to say this up front: this come out of my noodle. I didn't copy anybody. I didn't copy anything. I sat down with a piece of paper. I can't get too, but this right here, you can slow it down if you want. This is me carving it out of this block. You can even see the carve. Yeah, that was me. I carved that bait out of this block of wood. It's balsa, but I carved it so I can see it instead of looking at it on 2D. Because now remember, I am a machinist by trade. Okay, so it's the width that I want, it's the length that I want, it's the shape that I want. The special things that's going to be involved with this is all come from right here, and Van Dam and Mendez and other guys, that are going to test it, and we're going to tweak it. I'm going to get the bill angle nailed. I'm going to get the full point nailed. I'm going to get the weighting. I'm going to try to make, and so that is something that, when Stephanie asked, well, what do you mean by cold water? When you would throw a flat side, that's what this bait is. So I wanted to go ahead and answer her question while I was thinking about it.
Yeah. Any idea? Is that a 2024 bait, you think,
Yes.
possibly?
Oh yeah. Oh no, it will be.
Okay.
I'm working on 2 different diving depths. Right now, I'm just wanting to get the action of the hardcore. You know, I'm debating on bill size. And I'm going to play with that. I'll be sitting here with a Dremel, with a X-Acto knife. I'll be sitting here and cutting these things out and getting them done. Then what'll happen is they'll take them and they'll 3D scan them. Once I get the bill angles set, glued, then they'll take and they'll 3D scan to get all the angles, and I'll already have them written down. But all the angles, the widths, the size, the dimensions, I'll have all the bill design. We haven't decided on whether we want to go with. Pretty sure we want to go with a circuit board lift for a shallow diver. But that's not 100%. It just depends on what I can get out of a Lexan bill, or a plastic bill or whatnot. But I'm shooting for an action. There is an action of a bait. I took this bait down to the lake, which is in my Kentucky lakes in my backyard. My very first cast, I had a fish swipe at it. Did not see it. I didn't even see it happen. And then as I went across, I was pulling it across because I'm having to hold my phone in one hand and pull it and set my phone on slow motion. And I pull it, and a fish swiped at it. Turn around, and I come back the other way, and right as I did, it went into slow motion. All of a sudden, right behind the bait, you see this black, and you could see a bass come right up behind it. And I pulled it out just before. I've got the video, and it was my very first cast. And you want to talk about something that makes you excited? You're like, yeah. But yeah, that whenever we talk cold water, this next year, ICAST this year was a good year for bringing out the gravel dog, which is, I'm going to say it, to me, I mean, it was a new bait. I mean, it, even though it was comprised of, of two different baits that, Strike King had, and there was a combination done by Todd Castledine. Todd works on the innovation side, and he had come up with this a couple years ago. And they just kind of put it all together and getting everything dialed in, tweaked in. This bait, in my opinion, the gravel dog is an anomaly. The way it came together, the action of the bait, some of the things that comprise. Mark Rose looked at Todd Castledine and said, "I'm going to tell you right now. Whenever I saw the bill angle, he goes, I thought this isn't going to work." Now, Mark Rose is a very picky guy. He is very, very particular about stuff. I'm telling you that when you see stuff, he thinks about it. Sometimes, he thinks about it too much, but like we all do. But he looked at Todd Castledine and he told him, he said, "Todd," he goes, "I didn't give this bait the credit that it deserved whenever I first seen it." He goes, "All of a sudden I start reeling this thing in and it's hunting like a mad dog, And he goes, all of a sudden I started catching fish on it. And I was like, yeah, and it was the fact I wanted to name this bait, because sometimes I get to name stuff. I wanted to name it a rock hound.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Think about a hound dog, the nose on the ground sniffing, and that's what I thought, because that's the action of it. Whenever it hits and deflects, it deflects off, but it keeps its nose to the ground. And that's what, that bait. And there was guys, that have thrown it that they were utterly surprised because they did not think that bait was going to do what it does. And in my opinion, it's an anomaly, as to how everything about this that came together. We come out with all the new crawdad colors and things along those lines, and it was, it's been kind of a blessing, to see something like that happen. And one thing that the guys talk about in ICAST is some of the best lures in that building were tripped over. They were found by accident, and that's what you get across the board out there, And I told people, I said, whenever I designed the colors, because I got asked by, a couple of different media groups how I keep coming up with the colors, and not to sound like a Bible thumper, I said, I don't have to look at any other manufacturer's colors. I said, I just kind of look at what God gave me. There's enough colors out there just by looking at the fish. And I have people coming to me and they send me pictures of fish. Hey, can you put this on a bait? If there's ever a color that I'm matching, that I match, it's only because somebody asked me to match it. It isn't because whenever I'm in development mode and I'm developing colors that I'm trying to come up with, that I'm copying somebody else. I did see, I see the word, like I used a minute ago with Todd Castledine being innovation. I saw something a while ago and I sniggered at it when people talk about innovation. The innovation is, making something a little bit better on this side or doing something on that side. I don't know that it's innovation. I don't know that, I didn't see anything that's just changed the world, at ICAST. But I mean, I did see some cool stuff, and there's some stuff that if you like certain brands, you're going to pick up, certain things. Oh yeah, you're going to read that where it says that about the colors.
Yeah, I was one. I'm kind of reiterate what you guys talked about last week. It's going to be offered. The gravel dog is going to be offered in an 8 and a 10. So Shane was saying the 8 and the 10. That's based on throwing on 14-pound tests. So if you fishing 8 or 10 pound test, which is pretty common for, fishing a crankbait, you're going to be getting down there around 12 foot and probably 10 foot. So the 8 will go 10 and then the 10 will go 12. And I'm curious, when are these going to be available? And then when are you going to be able to look at the different colors in the lineup? Any idea? Are you still working on some of the colors, or do you have, several?
What we're doing is the things that were brought out at ICAST was the first run of shooting the colors at the factory.
Okay, gotcha.
I am still, even though there were so many people impressed with the colors, especially like the green gourd.
You could probably just have that color and be fine. That's a good looking color. You could probably just have that one color and be fine. It looks good.
Yeah. Well, you'd be shocked at how many guys. There is 2 different camps. Are you a brown crawdad guy or are you a green crawdad guy? There is 2 completely separate camps. I'm in the middle. I like them both. I've seen both colored crawdads. But it literally is split. Guys love, like you see the ghost brown, or that one there is the ghost green. You have different, different guys. Some of them say, "Oh, I love that green." Some say, "I love that brown." Because I've got on my brown, on the brown transparent one, I have there's a hint of purple down the back of it. It just a sheen that just takes it that one step further. That I just kind of think that, well, it's your peanut butter and jelly ones. Your guys that throw peanut butter and jelly, that they're gonna like it. And we've talked on here. There's a number of things. I do know, a lot of the things that are coming out is there's been mentioned in the future we're going to have a glide bait, swim bait, big swim bait.
You were saying.
I'm actually working on designing the harness rig with Shane. One question that we're kind of posing everybody: do you believe in weedless or non-weedless? Let's say you throw your mag graph. All right,
I'll be right back.
Maybe you throw mag graphs all the time, don't you?
He does, yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan does too.
I do too.
If you go to a grassy lake, there's a weedless version, and this isn't hinting on anything. This is just me gathering intel. I think the idea of a weedless version, or a weedless, I don't want to say version, a weedless style, because whenever I took a mag grass or something like that down to Gunnersville and I'm snagging grass every cast, in that eelgrass and stuff, I like the idea of not having a couple of treble hooks, a couple of hooks dangling out there to grab anything that moves.
Agreed.
If the hook system is right, that's what we're working on. I am working on a hook system that is right.
With a treble hook.
Don't know about a treble hook.
Okay.
I can't give away too much, but I'm working on a hook system. I'm looking. All I'm doing at this point is looking at the ideas. I'm looking at ideas of a weedless versus an exposed hook, and we have to take something and elevate it. We can't come out with the same things that everybody else already has out, because in this industry, I have noticed people are going to go, I want the OG. When I was with Berkeley and Chapo come out, there was a big thing, well, they knocked off the Whopper Flopper. No, the Whopper Flopper was a knockoff of other baits too.
I was going to say the Mag Draft by Megabass is a knockoff of another Japanese bait.
Yeah.
That we never
I know
in the States.
Oh, I know. And have you seen what the comb shad getting? It's another, and the same guys that went after the mag draft are going after the comb shad. They're like, hey, this has already been done. And so
Well, tell me in the United States where you can buy that original bait on either avenue, right? Like they're not readily available in the United States. You're either waiting, guessing, hoping, praying that you're going to get them when you do order something like that. But yet now we have them here in the United States, and that's when people start complaining is when we have something that's readily available. I can go down the road to Academy, not right now, but tomorrow morning and pick up a dozen mag drafts if I want a dozen mag drafts. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with the original bait.
No, but you know that a lot of these people that did that, all they want, a lot of them aren't even looking for money. All they want, recognition that they did it.
Right.
That's all they want. They want recognition that they did it. There was no sense in just knocking off something, because Megabass is a Japanese company.
Right.
So the mag draft come from Japan, so the fact is that a lot of these guys just want recognition, that, hey, I did this or I did that. Some of them, they should have the licensing agreement. I still haven't heard too much about, people were talking about the chatterbait versus the jackhammer. I heard there was something going on with that. That chatterbait just came out. Z-Man just come out with another chatterbait, and everybody's kind of like, "Ooh, what's going on with this?"
Yeah,
because patents run out.
Basically, it looks like a jackhammer, but it's $10 price point.
Really?
It's a chatterbait. I think it's an Evo is what they're calling it. But
well,
yeah, there's been rumors. Are they evergreen and chatterbait, parting ways on that or not?
Well, and so that's where
or Z-Man
that's where Z-Man and Evergreen, because Evergreen's a Japanese-based company, right?
Right.
That's where the original, because there's no U.S. patent laws in Japan.
No.
But now they can't market it here, but they can sell the heck out of them over there.
Yes.
So they can, just like
but
we knock off some of their baits, they can knock off all of our baits.
And they do.
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
Let's face it, we're talking about fishing. We're not talking about National Football League or MLB, like Nike or Adidas or whatever.
And they're knocking on each other off too every day, I'm sure.
But their patents, they've got big time lawyers. If you try to rip off one of the big companies, you're gonna have a lawsuit.
Right.
Some of these smaller bait companies, they don't have the money to sue other people.
Hell, Z-Man was doing it for a while. Anybody that posted a
Well,
chatterbait replica on a
they
board,
they were a bladed jig.
Yes. Yep.
And the Z-Man is the only one, and me and Menendez was talking about it. I believe that was me and him, that they're the only ones that their patent, they win every time they go to court. They go to court, they win. They paid, and if you ever get a chance to watch the video on YouTube called The $1 Million Patent, it's called The $1 Million Patent. And they filed, and they didn't just get a utility patent, they got a patent and that locks everything down.
Right.
And they're, if you put a split ring in between it, it's like the bait doesn't act the same. I mean, there's a reason why that evergreen catches fish, why the jackhammer catches fish.
Hey, and they scared the crap out of a lot of people too. I remember one of the very first BFLs I fished, a guy, my boater was throwing a bladed jig, and it had the surfboard bill on it, and he was going to get me some. I'd never seen it. It was the one that had the holes punched in the blade.
Yeah,
and it was with a split ring. And he said he would send me some of them. He said, but I have to send it in 2 pieces because of Z-Man. And that was like this dude just making them out of his house. It wasn't like he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars on them. So they were coming down on small people. If they sniffed it out or they heard a rumor about it, they were gonna write you a letter.
You can always tell when a patent runs out.
They send you I can tell you, one of the companies that made a bait as good as the jackhammer was Phoenix. a company called Phoenix, and that's because Brett Height designed it. Well, Brett Height is with Evergreen now.
Right.
But Phoenix, I mean, as soon as they got the jackhammer and they paid for the rights from Z-Man. Strike King pays for the rights from Z-Man. See, that's the thing. Take a look at any of these baits that are coming out with the flanges on the crawl, much like the Rage crawl. Rage Tails and Steve Parks has a patent on putting those flanges on the pincher. But take a look at a lot of the ones that are coming out that have them. And it's, you know, it's like you gotta, again, that's what I was talking about. Flattery will go so far and then you have to pay, you know, and that's one of the things that, you know, that is really kind of, you know, the Rage Tails. I mean, because Strike King is the first one to come out with it. They signed with them. You know, they signed, they got the rights to do it. And I believe that Guggen got it, you know, had bought the rights to put it on there. But see, they bought the rights to do it. Remember, it all comes back to the same theme of our show tonight. It's better to ask first than to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know,
well said.
And the folks that are out here on social that are doing a lot of this don't know that, right? They don't know that Guggen bought the rights, that Strike King bought the rights. Nobody knows that. But when they see that bait come out, they go, "Oh, they knocked it off."
Well, even the
I know.
Even the switchblade, you know, which was a blade that you could attach to any jig. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That I think is tied in with Z-Man.
That's produced by Z-Man, though, isn't it?
And maybe
I'm pretty sure it is.
It might be, but it was promoted by what's the company that? It's an elite angler, a young elite angler. He's got his own bait company. I can't remember, but that's where I first saw the switchblade.
Okay.
But yeah, any you know, like you said, Thunder Cricket. You got to get the rights.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. Z-Man
owns it. They did. I mean, if you look, they used to have, what was it, the Pure Poison?
Queen Tackle.
Striking had Striking had the Pure Poison that was like a chatterbait.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, no, and they went and they got the rights, even though they changed the shape of the blade. It's the action of the blade that is held under, you know, the scrutiny of the patent. So when you start looking at innovations and you start looking at, you know, seeing one company come out thinking that they get, you know, well, we can do this if we change it just a little bit, you know, because it's innovate something, you know, and I'm not saying that, you know, we may do the same thing, but it's a matter of, we got to watch how, you know, how we put that things are innovative, you know. That's why you didn't hear me say like the gravel dog was innovated. I called it an anomaly. It was pieces of a puzzle that all fell together right. It was worked on. Trust me, it's been worked on for over 2 years. But the initial testing of it was what caught everybody's eye and is like, wow. Todd Castledine had the original bait that he had put together to make it. And honestly, if the glue would have broke off of the bill and the bill would have fell off, that bait would have never been in existence. That's how, you know, there's a lot of baits that there's a couple ideas that we talked about, you know, at the show itself. There's always new processes. There's always new materials. There's always, you know, and you want to put the best. What we believe that, and the reason why I like what we're doing is that we want to give you the high end. Instead of you paying $30-$40 for a bait, we want to give you the same quality, same action, the same stuff, and not knock somebody off, but at a cheaper price, and not give up the quality. That's the whole thing about, you know, Strike King owning their own factories. They're not giving up. they now work with us. You know, that's the thing that I really liked about it. You know, and it's the industry's taking a weird turn, and I keep hearing the same number, 2 to 5 years. I've heard it from about 5 or 6 different people. 2 to 5 years. You know, we're seeing a lot of changes in the industry. You know, we're seeing guys with, social media. We're seeing guys with, sponsor relations. We're seeing, like we talked about a while ago, the gray areas. And guys, this may seem boring, but this is part of what goes on at ICAST. All these things are discussed at ICAST. You'll see it. You'll see somebody standing in the middle of the aisle. You'll see somebody standing there, and they're talking about things like this, the same things that we're talking about. They're sitting there discussing it. There is a lot of wheeling and dealing that goes on. We went to dinner, and Shane's going to laugh about this because if he's watching, I had went to a place called Charlie's Steakhouse. You ever been there?
Nope. Sounds like a fine establishment, though.
I had my first $95 porterhouse steak.
Was it any good?
Oh yeah.
$95.
Was it $95? I'm in Kentucky. No.
You can buy a lot of
Was it
steak in
good?
Kentucky for $95.
Buy like a half a cow, or
It was a 28-ounce porterhouse.
Did you finish it?
I'm giving them a shout out because it was probably the best steak I've ever had. But I was like, holy cow, because luckily I wasn't paying. I was just kind of in the crowd. One of the vendors was actually paying. And yeah, fine steak.
Did you finish
I wanted to frame it. No.
Oh,
I tried.
you got a doggy bag though to go, I'm sure.
Yes, I did. With the mashed potatoes that come with it. Remember, guys, I grew up where they brought out family style, a bowl of mashed potatoes, and it was garlic cheddar bacon mashed potatoes. I don't know that I would pay $25 for a bowl of mashed potatoes.
No.
They were delicious. Some of the best mashed potatoes I ever had, but my mama made some pretty good ones for about $5.
Oh yeah. How do you like your steak? How do you like your steak, Mike?
Medium.
Medium.
I'm
Same.
not. I like it. I still think you say the tenderness. I used to be it better looked at brown like a shoe, but I started lightening it up. Well, let me try a medium well. Then I went to a medium, and then I went to a medium rare, and I was like, I went too far.
Yeah.
I dialed her back a little. I'm stuck at me. If it's cooked the true medium, it's so hard to get one. If you got somebody, no offense to any 18-year-old kids, but if you got an 18-year-old kid back there going, right. You get a good steak, and this was a 21-day dry aged beef. Supposedly, they have these Japanese people, because you mentioned Japanese, that's what brought it, that massage the cows every 4 days. I'm like, whatever.
Nice.
You throw a bag of corn at them or something. But it was, the whole trip, there is a lot of work that goes on. Like I tried to tell everybody last time, there's a lot of work, to be able to bring you guys stuff. I'm already working on next year's stuff, and it's going to be, next year for Strike King is going to be a barn burner. We have a lot of products coming out, and we have guys working on them, and to the point, we get to the point that next week they're going to make sure everybody is on track and we're in line and streamlining the process. The guys that I talk to, I'm going to name drop only because, these are the guys that I work with. Todd Fairclough, had a lot of long talk with him. Shaw Grigsby, you've had him on the show. Shaw's a man among men. I love that guy to death. Mark Menendez, same way. Guys that work hard to be able to bring you some of the content. So if you guys see some of these guys, Andy Montgomery, I'm the world class painter because that's the way it was brought up to Andy. So every time he sees me now, he calls me world class. Scott Suggs, we're working with something that you'll hear about or see about whenever they tell me I can talk to you guys about it. There's a few things that Scott's going to be working on. Each guy that I'm talking about, there's something that they're working on. I'm working on. I'll give them a shameless plug. I spoke to a couple of guys at Tackle Addicts on behalf of our Keith Combs. And if you know Keith, you know what he throws. And we're working, going to be working on some exclusive colors for him.
We got to get Keith. He's working on it.
We got to get Keith on here.
We got to get Keith.
I mean,
Everybody says I look like Keith Combs, and I just want to.
Trust me. Hey, I've got his number.
Okay, I want to get him.
I'm going to be talking to him next week. I'm going to be talking to him next week. So I'm gonna get you the hookup.
I'm gonna take a selfie and send to you, and then you can do the comparison, or let him do the comparison.
There's a handful of guys that I spoke to that I really, that I think you guys are going to enjoy to see that I, I'm trying to get Gabe hooked up with. Some of them are, some of them are my heroes. Some of the guys, I'm sorry. I've been watching Lure Lab and what he just posted. He said something. He's been saying a couple of things that were very interesting about innovation, and that's what I touched on. And people talking about, designing stuff from scratch. But in all sincerity, we got some guys. We got a solid, pro staff, and you got if it's a crankbait bite, would you want to go against Keith Dunn? I wouldn't. If it's going to be a 6XD bite, KVD. Well, if you're in Texas, you want to go against. I wouldn't want to go against Todd Castledine. I wouldn't want to go against
Aircloth.
I'll go against them. Like JB said, they put their pants on one leg at a time. I'll give them everything. They'll know I was there. That don't mean I'm gonna win. Castledine has been on a tear for the past couple of years.
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, we have a lot of guys that I love the fact that we are working with the guys in the know. The guys that are, you can start picking out names and go, hey, if I give you this name. Like if you tell me KVD and you go pick out, what do you feel is his specialty? I'm going to go jerkbait instantly. He's won classics on crankbait. He set a record at Lewis Lake for the largest fish on a shanty. At one time, Mark Menendez held 4 BASS records, and I think he still owns a couple of them. And a lot of people don't know about that. I've got friends that fish the MLF. But there's a lot of guys, that we have on staff that it's really good to get these guys involved with it, because at product and development, we can get it so far, but I don't want you guys throwing something that I think's the greatest and then me get all mad because you say it's not. I want other guys' involvement. So every project we have, somebody else is involved in this project. And these are guys that are some of the best in the business. Andy Montgomery, we came out last year with the skipping buzz. Andy is one of the best skippers that you could ever meet. We talk about a chatterbait, and we talk about the thunder cricket. If you guys ever seen Andy, whenever you start looking at go back and look at that $1 million patent, Andy's name comes up in it. So does Brian Thrift. These guys were buddies with Z-Man long before you ever even heard of Z-Man.
Oh, Thrift was kicking his boaters' butts out of the back of the boat with the chatterbait, like 3 years,
Yeah.
4 years before anybody even knew what it was.
Yeah,
They were begging
that's
him.
what I'm
for it.
saying.
Yep.
So it's a matter of, and see, him and Andy used to fish together. That is one of the funniest things, going back to what was asked earlier about tension, is whenever you see one guy walk up and they hadn't seen the other guy, and he's like, yeah, he used to take my money back in the day. And they keep talking, about guys taking their money because they fished against each other before they went pro and stuff like that. And so many of the names that are thrown around, people ask me, do you get starstruck? It's like, when you've worked with some of the best, like I have, you know, it is a matter of, I don't get starstruck, but I try to show them respect. But they don't want to be talked to. These pros don't want to be talked to like, they hung the moon. They want to be, they're guys, and they want to be, I'm not going to walk up to a guy in a bathroom and ask him to sign my shirt while he's, got his willie in his hand. I'm gonna show him, I'm gonna show him.
That's a great
I
went somewhere way else with that one. It is getting late. I went somewhere else with that one, Mike.
Well, I was at Knoxville at a boat show, and two of my favorites, which was Edwin Evers and David Fritz, they were standing there, and Edwin was at the hand dryer drying his hands, and David walked in, and Edwin looks up and sees David. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, hi." They're like, "Hey, how you been?" And then I'm like, "Well, what about me?" Edwin comes over and he gives me a hug. We're in the men's room. I'm like, "Edwin, I don't think we're not even supposed to look each other in the eye right now." But they're just guys, and I mean, some of the guys that I like, and the guys that you guys like, are the guys that are the same 7 days a week. Not the guys that act one way and then they act another way. I like I like a real person. The guys that I've mentioned, your Shaw Grigsby's, your Todd Fairclough, your Menendez, these are real guys that when you ask them a question, you get a real answer, and that's just it's pretty respected. So
I would say most of them out there are real guys.
they are. I like. I like Hunter Stryout.
Oh, that's funny.
I like Hunter Stryout. You know what? That boy fought and scratched his way into getting where he got. If you watched his videos, whenever he was trying to make the elites, that boy fought and scratched his way into it, and I just respected him for it. And whenever I go and I get into a group of guys of, we'll call them graybeards, and they talk about the guy I mentioned earlier, Josh Bertrand, they go, "I like that boy." They said, "He doesn't bother anybody. He's on the water at daybreak. He's out there till dark, and he just does his thing." To hear somebody talk about a young gun at the time he was going neck and neck with Justin Lucas for Angler of the Year, to hear them talk about a guy like that, it gives you the respect for these guys, And whenever I first met Kevin KBD, I'm sorry, when I first met him, whenever I found out that he hit every minute of that man's day is accounted for, changed my whole aspect, because somebody said, "Well, I met him and he was, he kind of blew me off." He's having to think, like every 15 minutes in that man's day, it's accounted for. So,
Hey, I got a question for you. I got two questions for you. First
hey,
question.
wait, why am I called Willie Russell?
That's why I was laughing a while ago. That's your new nickname, Willie. Based on your bathroom comment. Willie.
I mean, I peed next to Larry Nixon at a Bassmasters Classic. So
that's right, you did, didn't you?
And I had Bobby Murray's ring on my finger. So,
wow. No, so two questions. One, of all the members on the Strike King Pro staff, who do you think is most likely to have seen a Sasquatch live in Sasquatch territory or looks like a Sasquatch. One of the above.
It's like a 3-part question right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of not fair.
Well,
Bill Lowen to C1, him or Andy Montgomery to C1.
I can see
Shaw
that.
has one.
Montgomery.
Shaw has one on his lip. You know,
Who has, hold on, who has one on
Shaw. Shaw. Yes,
hey, that mustache. Every time I've seen Shaw's mustache,
that's
it is
good.
groomed perfectly.
Yeah.
That man has it down, has the mustache grooming down perfectly.
His mustache has its own zip code.
It files its own taxes.
Well, it just makes us all jealous, right?
It kind of does. I'm not gonna lie.
Impressive.
Well, it's like when you see a guy that's got that
You know
beard
what?
that just goes straight, and it's.
Oh well, they make beard.
Oh, I
like
get it,
ointments
but to take
still,
the
there's
time
marks
and
to trim
to
it.
grow it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine comes in and it looks. Well, we're not even gonna go what mine looks like, but yeah.
I get Keith Jones on. You got to shave the beard.
Shave the beard.
My beard or his beard?
Gabe, I'm pointing at Gabe. That's it. Gabe,
No.
if you don't look like Keith, Keith doesn't have the.
I shaved this, but this is like,
Keith
dude,
doesn't have the bass player.
this is like a this is an early '90s model, bro. I mean, this has got some.
Bro, I've been rocking this since I was like 19.
I'll go right.
I got the. Well, you want to look like? Can you put little braids in it?
I can do whatever.
Before I get Big Texas on here.
I can make some. I'll make some adjustments and some modifications. It's kind of like changing the split rings or hooks on a crankbait. I'll make some. I'm not gonna like drill a hole in the crankbait, but I'll make a few little adjustments.
You'll sharpen the
some
spinner
strips.
Did you guys? And I'm only saying this because I didn't. Did you guys do any research to any of these new hooks that have came out?
No, I've been running 100.
I've heard about some hooks that will come out by owner. A jungle hook.
Yeah,
I've heard about that they can't keep them in stock. I've heard about
they have the haymaker.
You hear about all these different things. Yeah,
for a while.
But I didn't hear. I've been trying. I try to follow hooks closely, believe it or not, because I like guys to, take and come out with, to have the best they can whenever I do it in Bag 5. I try to, make sure that I put a hook on there that I will use.
Right.
Right now, one of my favorite hooks is by BKK. I like their hooks.
What hook did you say? I'm sorry, I'm going through comments here. What?
BKK is one of my favorite. I'm nowhere associated with them, but I do like their hooks for the price point. They have some really good hooks. I like to talk about some of the things that I'm not necessarily, directly related with, and Strike King doesn't have their own hooks yet. Eventually it'll get to that point. But that's, I like their hooks. I like the Mustad hooks. You got your old favorites that are just solid. You got your Gamakatsus, your owners. Even the VMC makes a decent hook. It's just I like to kind of stay. I wasn't so sure about that. What was the one that had the funky bend in it? The lure lock or
the trapper
hook, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
one of those.
I haven't either, but I was a Gamakatsu guy for years and years and years. I really like the Mustads, the treble hooks on the Mustads for all of my crankbaits, the round bends and the EWGs. But the tell you what, the round bend
owner
Gamakatsu treble hooks are like razor blades.
Yeah, they're nice.
And then the
BKK.
I switched to the owners for flipping and pitching.
Mm-hmm.
They have better sizing than Gamakatsu has readily available.
Well,
I will say that.
Yeah, for your thicker like your tubes and things like
that.
Got
there's a couple
options.
sneaky hooks out there. That haymaker that you were talking about, let me tell you, that one's a nail driver right there. That hook, if you bend that one out,
You notice how you don't hear about the what's the one hook that was so big that Eagle Claw made? Pro car. You notice how that's kind of faded off some too.
Yeah, I didn't care. They're really sharp hooks.
I didn't like
that cutting point.
I didn't like the cutting point because it
you
just
get one,
destroys.
Yeah,
baits.
you get one fish out of the bait. It splits the bait open on the top. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, most hooks are sharp enough nowadays. It doesn't matter what the brand; they're pretty good. It's not like we're in the 70s.
The same thing with rods. I made the comment there that Lew's has come such a long way, and they're catching up. I will say I saw a St. Croix reel that they had just, I don't know nothing about them. I didn't even lay my hands on them, but they have a reel that came out called a 7, and they said it's 7 decades in the making.
Really?
They have St. Croix is coming out with a reel line. But other than that, guys, it's the ICAST was a good one. There wasn't nothing truly groundbreaking. There's been some anomalies and innovations and adding to the class, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to next year doing the same thing, because you're going to see me go to war whenever somebody compares a bait that I designed from scratch, and they say, "Oh, that's a such and such knockoff." I'm gonna, I will defend it to the tooth and nail. I've already got permission to go off on these guys. I've got permission from the man. Hey, go off on it. Because I know what I'm doing and I know what the other guys are doing, so I have permission to go off on them.
We don't have a winner yet.
They are just tiptoeing right around it.
Yeah, it's amazing how sometimes it's in the first 10, 15 seconds, and then sometimes it's 2 or 3 minutes later. I had another question I was going to ask you before we wrap this up.
Go ahead.
And it is, how long does it take you typically to paint, let's say, a 1.5 in like your, I don't know, like an olive crawl pattern? What's the typical? And the second part of this is the reason why is because I want to have you back on here sometime, and I want to I'd really like to have you paint a bait live, go through the whole painting process. You can keep it very generic. You don't have to, get too detailed in some of your secret paint schemes, because I know, a lot of people may not realize this, but every painter has his own little mix of special paints, and they use certain types of paints to get certain kind of finishes and stuff. So don't want to go too deep into some of the stuff, but just a general, I like to have you get on here sometime, do another live stream, maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months from now, and actually you kind of somewhat step by step paint a bait, and then we'll have a custom painted bait by Mike Russell, Back 5 Baits, Strike King product and development, and give that bait away on our live stream. I think that'd be super, super cool. That'd be a special, a very unique thing that you can't just get anywhere.
Better yet, what we'll do is we'll have the audience, because like I see 43 people, but I only see 5 thumbs up.
Yeah, you got to get those thumbs up in here, people. Help it out,
guys. Come on now.
Here's another thing. Why we're guessing, and you guys are still guessing these numbers. We haven't picked it yet. You still haven't got the Baitworks $25 Baitworks gift card giveaway. After Stephanie does this a lot, it really helps out a lot. After this video is over, just make some kind of comment on the actual YouTube side of the video. Once it's posted, it'll go live afterwards. But just great show, or I think you talked about forward facing sonar too much, or whatever. But that helps. That helps the algorithm. It helps. It's a great way to help. And go check out Back 5 Baits too, by the way. We got a winner.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
My eyes are crossed.
Yeah, he was about to pass out over there. Luke, send me your email address.
Jones, right?
To Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or 10 Horse Monty on Facebook, or 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram. Send me your email address, Yeah,
Congrats.
cheers to Luke. You just saved a life right here, and I'll get that Baitworks gift
I
card
was
out to you
thirsty.
tomorrow.
And last week, the winner Daniel, I got a package that I got to get out for him. I didn't get it out yet, Daniel, because I left, you know, to go down there Wednesday, so I didn't forget you. I got your stuff pulled and about ready to go. Some of the minutes up until then, I'm having the next air packages to Orlando. You know, and the minutes up leading that week up to it, it's just, you know, it's pretty intense.
Quote of the night right there. I love free money and Bigfoots. It's good stuff.
Is it Bigfoots or Big Feets?
I don't know. I think it's foot is plural. I don't know, because he does have
Feet
more than
is-
one big foot. It's not. He's got two
Well,
big foots.
feet
Well,
would be plural.
see, up here we use a teeth brush. I don't know about down in Kentucky. Is it a toothbrush or is it a teeth brush?
No, we use toothbrush singular.
Okay, I thought so.
They use
I know some folks from Kentucky.
teeth brushes. What's up, Jack? Good to see you on here, man. Hope everything's going good down there in Lake of the Ozarks. Great guide if you're looking for guide service down at Lake of the Ozarks. Check out Jack, man.
There's some good people in here tonight.
Yeah.
Jen was in here.
It's a good crowd, really good crowd. Let's wrap this up, man. It's been very insightful, a lot of good content, a lot of useful information. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to remind you guys that if you get a chance, go over to the Bluff City Outdoors Show. They have a podcast forum, and it's also it's a radio show out of St. Louis. You can get the call letters if you just Google Bluff City Outdoors Show. And I've been doing the fishing report on there. So it airs on Saturday mornings from 11 to noon and also on Sunday mornings. And they have a podcast for them. But they've got in touch with me a while back, and I've been doing a weekly Southern Illinois fishing report. I've been doing Kincaid, I've been doing Crab Orchard, and I've been doing Lake of Egypt. They're really trying to do something. It's outdoor oriented, so they have hunting, fishing. They'll have bow hunting on there. They have some kayaking, some camping, just anything relating to outdoors. It's kind of heavily towards fishing. They had the guy that broke the Tennessee Blue Cat record twice. He caught a 108 pounder. It was a Tennessee record, and then he broke his own record with I want to say like a 112 or a 120. He was on there. He was a guest. Really, really cool guest, actually. That's actually somebody I wouldn't mind reaching out to. Some of the catfish people. But Bluff City Outdoor Show, go check out that podcast if you don't mind. Go check it out. Listen to it a little bit. Give them a like or a thumbs up. It'd be greatly appreciated because they've done a lot for me. Every stream that they do, every podcast that they do, they give a shout out to the 10 Horse Monty YouTube channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So just to return the favor to them, they're good guys. They have my buddy Mike Marfell, my team partner in Anglers in Action and travel partner at Lake of the Ozarks.
Are you fishing that Warrior William with him this year?
We were talking about that the other day. If I can get off work, I have all aspirations of doing that. I kind of need to tidy that up. But yeah, Bluff City Outdoors, go check them out. They're doing some good stuff, and check out Bag Fives as well, Bag Five Baits. So Mike, many of you know that, Mike's with Striking, but he also has a side business, Bag Five Baits, and he paints some killer stuff. So you can get a custom painted bait at a really reasonable price. And you use actual Strike King blanks too, right?
I use OEM, guys. The only thing that I don't use that comes from the manufacturer is if you ask me. If anything else, I like to have the security. I know what. Now I'm one of the guys designing the bait, and whenever it gets knocked off, I'm going to be pissy about it, but I don't care. But, I like to use what I know has been tried, true, and trusted. So I have just about every, and I'm going to have the new 3/8 red eye shad. I'm going to have the gravel dogs. I may even squeeze in some of the bitsies. I like the looks. We talked about it, that bitsy sexy dog, the little bitty one.
Yeah.
That may be pretty interesting. And the bitsy, red eye shad. So I may try, but I keep all that stuff in stock. I have thousands of baits in my shop that are blank from the manufacturer. They come straight from the factory to me. And if you order, like a Strike King bait, you know, I pull it out of my stock that comes from the factory. So I like to make sure that you guys get quality. I can take them right down to the lake behind me. I can test them. Uh, that's to me, I believe that because I work in the industry, I got to kind of keep a certain level of, respect, or I will earn your respect. I don't expect you to give it, but I believe I got to have a certain level, and I can't be, sitting here talking about people knocking off baits and whenever I work for a manufacturer. So it's it's a matter of that. I got all the baits from, from the shallowest of baits to the deepest of divers. I've got them, in stock. So, and like I just said a while ago, guys, I put the best hooks I can, all the best hardware, because I know that a lot of people are ordering stuff for fishing a tournament. I want you to be able to go out and win a tournament. I live vicariously through people. If I see somebody win on one of my baits or one of my colors or whatever, I live vicariously through them. That's my chicken soup for my soul. Every man's given a gift. It's up to you to find out what it is. It took me 30 years before I started using what was considered a gift to me. And, you know, and now I get to live, and, I have, like me and Shane talked about just the other day down at ICAST, we have dream jobs. You know, Sometimes it's a nightmare, but we still have dream jobs. We get to work in an industry, like Gabe. You go out and you're delivering mail all day, and then you're hurrying home because of your love of fishing. We love to fish, and that's what we're student of the game. We want to learn everything. We want to know as much as we can know, and the older you get, the harder it is to retain it. I know this because I did not sleep at all Tuesday night, and then I went walking down there on Wednesday. So uh, there's a lot of hard work that goes behind the scenes that you guys don't get to see. And if somebody starts singing a knockoff, especially next year, because I'm gonna come on, we're gonna do this just before I cast next year. I need my peeps behind me. I need some keyboard warriors. I want the ones that are the best at I want the ones that are best at going at people. Because if you see the one that the gravel dog on Zona, when they started calling that gravel dog a knockoff of a rock crawler or a knockoff of this, it's like, no. Oh, it looks like a rock crawler. No, it don't. It don't look like a rock crawler. It looks like a crankbait. That's basically what it looks like. It doesn't, guys, that's a 1.5 body. Just so you can get an idea, that is a 1.5 body. Just like you throw in a square bill. So it's kind of hard to knock off.
Get those in their hand, they start playing around with it, they'll realize that it is a different bait.
It's a 1.5 body with a Series 4 bill.
Yeah.
That's literally, it's not a secret. It's been thrown out, but it is, I guess it is a secret because they make people guess what it actually is, but it's a 1.5 body with a Series 4 bill, both of which, if you go and you see the picture of the gravel dogs on Zona's Facebook page, and you'll see me say, this is 100% Strike King body, this is 100% Strike King bill. Those two were put together, and that's why I called it an anomaly. It was something that actually worked. And then they're like, well, it looks like, a 3XD. No, a 3XD's got a little bit different body shape to it, So, but yeah.
Last question.
I'm working hard for you guys.
Last question right here. We got to wrap this up. Shane has a great question. What do you prefer to paint, balsa or hard plastic?
Hard plastic.
Hard plastic. Okay.
I repair balsa, okay, but when I do, I use actual balsa to repair the bait. I don't actually really, that doesn't matter. The only thing that about a balsa bait is different from me is you have to epoxy coat a balsa bait because the wood is so soft it'll dent if you hit it if you use regular if you use regular clear coat like I use a mixture. I use a high impact type clear coat, and it's for plastics. It works great. I use an adhesion promoter. I use I use all the stuff that you're supposed to use on it, the primers and stuff like that. But if you do a balsa bait, you have to coat it with something thick because if you don't coat it, you hit a rock and it dents it. It'll start absorbing water, and that's why if you looked at the old hose and things like that, they will absorb water, and that's why your finish is crap.
Good stuff.
So that's the only thing I got away from all original guys when they first start doing baits. They use the epoxy because it's easier and they don't have to smell it and all that stuff. But after you get to where you're spraying it and you're doing thousands of baits a year, to sit and brush each individual bait, not me. So I just get the best clear coats I can, and I'm working right now to get a chromer to be able to chrome baits, not foil them because foil them adds weight to it, and you have the aluminum foil or that foil has a glue that has to stick. Well, if that glue starts coming loose, it can bubble up. I'm working on getting a chromer to be able to chrome baits for products and development, so we can speed that along.
Sweet.
Good stuff, man. There's a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe for Strike King. So
It's that
gravel dog's gonna sell good. I think it's
I believe it. I'm going to push it only because I'm going to push it because my guys. When I say my guys, it's the Strike King guys. They believe it. It's hard to get a bait that I'm talking. This is behind the scenes, guys. This isn't a sell point. This is behind the scenes. These guys like it. These guys are liking it a lot. You're going to not hear some things from some people. That's because they haven't tested it and they don't like to say anything till they've tried it themselves. But all the things that I get behind the scenes, they like it, and they're going to throw it. That's what we're trying to. That's what we're going to try to put out. We're going to try to put out things that, I have to catch a fisherman. I've seen last time I was on, I seen something about catching a fisherman. Kevin Van Dam, this is the last thing I'll say, and I'll let you guys go. Kevin Van Dam said you can't catch a fish till it leaves the shelf. I have to make sure in my world that it catches a fisherman, but it catches a fish too. I want you to win something with it. I want you to win, at this juncture, I want you to win on the Strike King bait. And next year, I want you guys to tear them a new butt with baits that you saw my block of wood that I carved my bait out of, with that razor knife. Actually, I got carving there. But I want you guys to kick butt, and I'm going to do everything I can to give you the tools to do that. Because it's a tool that I'm going to use too. I fish tournaments right along with you guys. Strike King is loaded with guys that fish. I'm talking from brand managers to developers to, all of them. We fish. You don't get that from some of the other companies. You only get a couple of guys that fish. The rest of them are just good at designing things.
right.
Read between the lines. Some guys, there's companies that don't have guys that fish. Just about everybody I work with fishes. And they'll either fish tournament or they fish college or they fish, the opens. And I'm not talking, the Van Dams of the world. I'm talking about, like his sons, guys like that give me influence. Everybody in the company, we're fishing. And if they ain't fishing, they're hunting. Not
Gotcha.
that matters. So, all right, guys.
All right. Let's
If
wrap it
anybody
up.
has any questions, you can reach me at Mike at bag5baits.com. I can answer any questions you got. that may turn into a phone call if I got my hands busy, but I just keep an earbud in my ear and I'll sit and talk your ear off if you guys haven't noticed.
Oh yeah, you'll talk while you're spraying.
I get lonely in my room.
Yeah, cool. Well, man, thanks for hanging out with us 2 weeks in a row. It's been cool to catch up, and I'll definitely give you a call here next couple of days, and we'll chat.
Yeah, because we have a good. I got one guest lined up for you that you guys are going to like, and there's a couple more that that I want to get lined up for you. I got to get Keith Combs on there. I have to. If I can't get Keith, then I feel I failed in life.
It'd be fun. I just want to meet him.
Who does JB look like? We got to find somebody that looks like him.
So the Keith Combs story is I met Keith at the Classic one day, and my first Classic, and he was walking through and we were passing each other, and he was going to his next whatever. I was like, man, I got to get a picture with you, bud. And he's like, I was like, my best friend looks exactly like you. And he's like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then I had a buddy with me, and he's like, no, it's pretty close. And he's like, well, let me see a picture. So I pulled up a picture. He's like, oh, shit. Like, your twin is on the other end of that phone.
Tell him about
so there's a
Rob,
guy, Rob. There's a guy down in Kentucky that we were at a regional fishing, and he came to dinner with us one night, and he knew that Gabe and I were together, but he had never met Gabe. That's a hell of a bottle of soda. He just drinks it by the 2-liter. I love it. But he walks into the restaurant and sees us sitting over at the table, and he's like, holy shit, is that Keith? Like, what's he doing here? Because he knew Keith personally and couldn't figure out why he was there, not 100 or 1,000 miles away fishing somewhere.
So anytime Keith would back years ago when the elites had tournaments on Kentucky Lake, Keith would stay with Rob.
Yeah.
So Keith and his wife and Rob and his wife at the time, they would go out on dinner dates. And when I first remember meeting Rob was we were at the BFL meeting when they had it up there at Kentucky Dam. They had the trailer there, and the actual meetings, this is pre-COVID, where everybody showed up at the meetings and they were all standing outside. So you'd have 100 folks just standing outside and lingering. And I kept seeing this guy staring at me. And every time I'd look over, you can feel when somebody's staring at you sometimes. I just kept feeling this guy.
Your soul.
He was looking at me, and I'd look over, and I'm like, who is this dude, man? What's up with this guy? I was about to just walk up and say, what's up, bro? You got a problem with me? And he kept looking and looking, and then you walked
up. The infamous fight line. What are you looking at?
Yeah. You looking at me? You talking to me? And so JB walks up to him, and long story short, JB knew him. And the guy was looking at me because he was thinking that I was Keith Combs, and he was wondering why I was fishing a BFL on Kentucky Lake when there was an Elite Series tournament in Alabama or
wherever it was at.
He couldn't figure out why I was there. That's how much he thought I looked like him. And this guy had actually had Keith stay at his home and went out to eat with Keith and his wife. So ever since that, I mean, there were multiple times during a tournament where somebody would say, hey, you look like Keith Combs. I actually had Ott Defoe when I was fishing the Toyota Owners Tournament out of Pickwick. We're idling by. You got G-Man, you got Ike, you got Ott Defoe, Brandon Lester standing out on the dock. And Ott says, man, you look just like Keith Combs. So even those guys thought I looked like him. So, yeah, if that ever happens where Keith is on here, I think it'd be funny because of all
I'm going to be working with Keith on a project, and I'll definitely try to get him on.
Yeah, he can come on here for 40 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. It doesn't matter. You don't have to stay on here for 2 hours like we do. He's a man that's got limited amount of time on it. It's the same thing with these other guys like KVD or Andy Montgomery or any of these other guys. They don't have to do like a full stream, but just to get like 30 minutes of their time would be cool. Just to have them on here, pick their brain a little bit and move on. Cause it's a commitment to be on here for 2+ hours. So, but yeah, let's wrap this up, man. It's been fun, Mike. I really appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch. Thanks to everybody coming on here. Like I said earlier, Tuesday night, maybe the target night. Now I'll leave it on the social media.
Real quick, and I know there's not a lot of people still left. We're going to have an early release of a certain bait, and I'm gonna try to get you guys a heads up just before that.
Let me know.
Dun, dun, dun.
let me know, man. I'll do what I can do.
It's going to kind of be a surprise. It's Strike King stepping into a realm, but yeah, I'll let you guys know as soon as I can.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks,
All
Mike.
right, guys.
Thanks, everybody
Thanks,
on
Good,
here.
guys.
We'll see you next week. See ya.